never alone. I moved into the house last fall, a little cottage at the edge of town, tucked behind a curtain of pine trees and wrapped in silence. It was cheap, quiet, and came with just enough crease in the floorboards to feel lived in, but not haunted. I was grateful for that. I needed peace. It was the first place I'd ever had to myself. No roommates, no boyfriends, no shared leases with passive-aggressive chore charts. Just me. I could finally buy the soap I liked, light candles that smelled like anything but pine, and leave my bras hanging off chairs without apology. I live alone. Or I thought I did. The first time it happened, I chalked it up to forgetting. A light left on in the hallway when I swore I'd turned it off. A spoon in the sink I didn't remember using. Small things. Annoying but explainable. Then it got stranger. I started waking up to the closet door cracked open, just a sliver, like someone had peeked in or out. I'd shut it and go to bed, and the next night, there it was again. This was repeated a few nights until I finally stopped bothering to close it. One morning, I found muddy footprints in the entryway. Just one set, small, really small. I didn't own shoes that size. I didn't even own mud. The yard had been bone dry for weeks. I checked the locks. I checked them twice. Nothing was broken, nothing stolen. Just the footprints leading to the basement door. I don't go down there much. It smells like earth and iron. And there's a crawl space at the back I never dared look into. Too low to stand in, too dark to see. I kept it shut tight until one night I heard humming. I was brushing my teeth, the sound soft at first, childlike, the same low tune over and over again echoing up through the vents. My blood ran cold. I froze, toothbrush in hand, and strained to listen. It stopped the moment I moved. I slept on the couch that night with all the lights on. The next morning, the basement door was open, wide open. That was the first time I considered leaving, but I didn't. I told myself it was stress, fatigue, or a dream maybe. People hear things all the time in old houses. That's all it was. I told myself that, over and over. Then something changed. I came home from work and the hallway light was on. Again. But this time, there was something new, written on the mirror in the fog of the bathroom were the words, "Stop closing the door." I hadn't taken a shower that morning. The mirror shouldn't have fogged up. My stomach dropped and I backed out of the room like it might lunge at me. I slept in my car that night. This morning, when I went back inside, the house was calm, quiet. Too quiet. But on the kitchen table, where I always leave my keys, sat a small object, a child's tooth, still red at the root. I didn't call the police. I should have. I know that. But what would I have said? Hi, yes, someone might be living in my walls and left a baby tooth on my table. Oh, and they write messages in fog and hum lullabies through the vents. I'm sure they would have rushed right over. So instead, I threw the tooth in the trash, grabbed the flashlight I kept in the junk drawer, and went down into the basement. The air down there is always colder than it should be. Not crisp like a refrigerator. No, it's a damp cold. Like something breathing just behind the cinder block walls. The kind of cold that sticks to your bones and makes your joints ache. The crawl space is at the far end of the basement behind the old oil tank, a low rectangle in the wall, just about 2 feet high. It used to be covered with plywood, nailed in haphazardly, but that morning, It was open, or rather, peeled back. I stared at the black rectangle like it might blink. My flashlight shook in my hand. Then I got on my stomach and I went in. The dirt floor was damp and the smell hit me immediately. Decay and something else. Something sweet and rotten, like a candy apple left too long in the sun. I crawled forward, light dancing off the exposed beams and cobwebs. There were scratch marks in the dirt, fingernails, I think, a trail of them leading deeper. That's when I saw the bed. Just a pile of old blankets tucked under the foundation, but it had shape, order. Someone had made it. Next to it, a small tin box with children's toys inside, broken plastic animals, crayons worn to stubs. And off tucked in the corner was a mirror, small and oval, the kind that belongs on a vanity. The glass was fogged. I wiped it and nearly shat myself. There was a face behind me, pale, small, childlike, but wrong. The proportions weren't right. The eyes were too big, too glossy, and too still. The mouth was open, but no breath came out. I turned. My flashlight flickered. Nothing, just dirt. I crawled backward fast enough to scrape my elbows raw. I slammed the plywood back over the entrance, nailed it shut with shaking hands, and haven't gone down since. But now I hear them every night. 2 sets of footsteps. One light, one heavy. And sometimes, when I lie very still pretending to sleep, I hear breathing under the floorboards, right beneath my bed. And the worst part? Last night, I found another message on the bathroom mirror. Are you my new sister? I don't sleep anymore. I try, I really do. But the breathing is louder now, closer. It's no longer under the floorboards, it's in the walls. Sometimes I hear it crawl past my headboard, and the drywall gives a soft crack as something shifts inside. Last night, the hallway light turned on by itself, then off, then on again. Click, 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 like it was deciding. I finally called someone. Not the cops. I know, I should have, but I didn't. I found a guy online. His name was Darren, and he said he specializes in hard-to-explain problems. I didn't care how insane that sounded. I just needed someone else, anyone, to be inside this house with me. Darren showed up this morning with a suitcase full of gear and a face that looked like it had seen too much already. I get a lot of these, he said, stepping through the threshold. But yours feels bad. I agreed and began explaining what was happening. The door, the crawl space, the tooth, all of it. But he didn't respond much, just nodded and started scanning the place, room by room, EMF meter in hand. A little recorder clipped to his jacket. I followed him, too afraid to be alone in any room, even my own. After 2 hours of nothing, Darren paused outside the basement door. He looked at it and then at me. You said the face was down there? I nodded nervously, and he opened the door. The smell hit us like a wall. Damp, sweet, foul. Something's dead down there, he muttered. I wanted to run, but he flicked on his shoulder lamp and descended. I stood at the top of the stairs, cold sweat running down my back. A minute passed, then another. I called out, "Darren?" No answer, just a sound. It wasn't Darren, and it wasn't footsteps. It was dragging, like something was being pulled slowly across the dirt floor. I backed away, not realizing I was holding the doorknob so tight my knuckles went white. I called for Darren to come back in one last hopeful attempt, and a voice floated up from the dark. But it wasn't Darren's. It was weak and quiet, like a child's voice. "We're not finished playing." Then the basement light flickered, and I heard giggling as something ran off out of view. I slammed the door shut, and I haven't opened it since. That was 3 days ago. The door to the basement is nailed shut now. I hear scratching from the other side sometimes, and sometimes I hear Darren's voice whispering through the vent, telling me to let him out. But it's not him. I know that. Can't be. Yesterday, I went to leave, to just walk away from this whole cursed house. But the front door wouldn't open. Every window shows something different when I look out. Sometimes it's night when it's supposed to be day. Sometimes it's not even my yard. Last night, I woke up and someone had tucked me in, folded the blanket, turned off the lamp, left a note on the pillow in a child's handwriting. "Play with us." And this morning I could hear them again, the footsteps, walking in sync with me just behind the walls. One light, one heavy, and a third pair that sounded like boots. And now I can hear breathing behind my mirrors.